Hello, this is Bree in Psych. I'm going to be talking today about how my first few days of employed student psychiatric nursing has been going. I am working at the hospital in tertiary mental health. It's been going pretty good so far. Because of COVID-19 going on right now, it's been a very interesting time to start working, and it's been extra scary. For the whole orientation process, we had 3 days of virtual orientation to start. Normally this would have been done on the actual hospital grounds, but in order to promote social distancing and all that jazz, they made it online. And they have 4 buddy shifts. So you get paired up with a nurse on that shift that day, and you just follow them around and help out with whatever you're comfortable with. For student nurses in this particular program at this particular hospital, they restrict your activities to less than what a registered nurse or registered psychiatric nurse would do. So for things like graveyard shifts where a registered nurse or registered psychiatric nurse would check like the MARs, I would not be able to do that because I don't have my full license. But no big deal, because it's still a great experience and I'm still practicing my skills, which is ultimately what I wanted from this opportunity anyways. My first day as a student, I had to start by checking my temperature right when I got in the door because of COVID-19. So all the nurses, all the workers that are working on the unit, they have to get their temperature checked, and you're not allowed to report into work if you have any flu-like, COVID-like symptoms. We also have to wear surgical masks the entire time of our shift when we're doing patient care, and we also have to wear goggles. So this has been really interesting for psych in particular, because part of the assessment process and like building therapeutic relationships, I feel like it's kind of been harder to build those relationships because nobody can see my face when I'm talking to them. So let's start with the day shift orientation that I did. You show up for your shift. Because it's COVID, you have to change into your scrubs at work, and then you change out into clean clothes when you leave. And you have specific work shoes that stay on the unit just for infection control. We don't have any COVID patients on our unit right now, which is great. Hopefully it stays that way. That would be great. We start off the day by listening to the report that the nurses give, any team discussions that need to get done, such as like new double purple sticker notifications. So for those of you who don't know, a purple dot or a purple sticker means that the patient has a violence history or aggression history. And for this unit, 2 purple dots or 2 purple stickers means that the patient had a recent aggression or violence incident. So those need to be notified right off the bat, so you know if a patient that you're going to be working with has had a recent event, and it's something really important to look out for your safety. After all the reports and stuff, they go over the schedule for the day, then you do your morning meds. I did a little bit of meds because I was more concerned about being oriented to the unit and stuff than I was about doing patient care. This was my first shift. So as I was going about my day, the nurse would point out things on the unit that was important. It was a 12-hour shift. Right now, because of COVID, they're only doing 12-hour shifts to lessen the amount of people coming in and out of the unit. It went really well. I really like the nurses on the unit. They have been great. They have a lot of knowledge there that you could tap into and learn what they do, how they do things, how they prioritize the tasks, how they get through the day. And it's great to see that from how every nurse does it a little bit differently. So it's good to pick up on things that you particularly like and take that with you into your practice. For mental health, usually on most mental health units they have like a duress alarm. Some places call it a personal protective device. It's a little thing that you carry with you so that if there's a need to call a code white or you need an emergency attention brought to you immediately, you can push the device and a code white will respond. I learned how to sign into that. I learned how to sign into my shift. This unit was a little bit old school because the units that I've been on to in a hospital, usually they have the Perksys machines or Omnicell machines where they keep all the meds. However, this unit did not have that. They have the really old school lock and key for like the narcotics box and stuff, shelves and little cubby things for all the patient meds. Really old school to see, to me at least. They had paper charting, which is all I've actually ever done. I have yet to do any computer charting. I'm hoping that maybe I'll get a little bit of that experience this upcoming semester, which starts technically tomorrow. Yeah, so I'm already used to paper charting anyways, so that worked out for me. In the morning, we just did meds. We assessed the patients while we're there. They let us, I like to ask them how they sleep and stuff. It's usually a great question to start conversation. So because of COVID, we also need to check all the patients' temperatures too, which can be time consuming because the thermometer is the most ancient thing ever and it takes like 2 minutes to get one person's temperature.
And you're probably thinking, 2 minutes isn't that bad.
But if you have a load of 10 patients, it adds up. Throughout the morning and throughout the day really, people from like lab techs, people getting EKGs, all that good stuff coming in and getting samples from the patients, watch over them just in case. Patients will refuse lab work. We try and explain to them that's a foolish thing to do and don't do that because you need to monitor all the levels. You're taking all these meds. It's really important to know that it's a therapeutic level. Yeah, so like I was saying about our unit earlier, it's like the last step before patients get released out into the community. Usually patients stay here like 6 months to 2 years, and they're mostly involuntary patients. They're not as high level of care, so that's honestly great for me because lower acuity and I can just get the opportunity to learn and all that stuff because I'm just getting my foot in the door. And because of COVID right now, we're also doing these COVID safety huddles where we have to gown in full PPE and demonstrate that we know what it is. Just one person has to do it. So we've been doing that too. It sucks for patients right now too because of COVID, because they can't go on like passes and stuff. We haven't given them any passes. The only thing they can do is the workers will take them out on like a walk, I think up to twice a day. Yeah, day shifts get really busy. You're just, throughout the day, you're giving a lot of like NRT, so nicotine replacement therapy. The 2 psych units I've been on now, that's NRT is just throughout the day. Like a lot of psych patients smoke. From what I've heard, that's just because if you have something like schizophrenia or something really kind of like that, then sometimes smoking is the only thing that you feel that like satisfaction in your brain because of all the crap that's going on, all the meds you're taking on. And up until the evening, your day's kind of hectic. You're always just doing stuff. Things always come up. And then you're doing a lot of charting, usually. Evening, you do evening meds, more NRT gum, all that jazz. I spend a lot of time asking questions, which is really important to do if you're a student nurse. If you're not asking questions, that's not a good sign. Always ask questions. Usually in the evening I like to check in with the patients too because in the evening sometimes their moods can change. For some patients, not all patients. So it's good to check in and just see how they're doing, how their day has been going so far, especially because of everything that's going on right now and they can't go out as much, it's important to do that check-in during this time. So I did 4 buddy shifts in total. So I did one 12-hour day, one 12-hour night on one week. Then the next week after that, I did another 12-hour day, 12-hour night. So the night shift was like a completely different experience. I had never worked a graveyard shift in my life, so I didn't really know what to expect. Night shifts, they just have like a whole checklist of things they need to do on the unit. So things like checking the code blue cart, making sure the zip ties haven't been tampered with. If they have been, then there's a list that you need to go through and you need to check off with another nurse that everything that's in that cart, that needs to be in that cart, is there. Things like checking the MARs, that's honestly like the biggest thing that the night shift does, is checking the previous day's MAR and checking it with the MARs that are there for the next day. Checking and making sure there wasn't any new orders for each patient. If there is a new order, initially what you do is you print out a blank MAR and you write it in yourself, and the MARs get printed like, I believe, 11 p.m., 10 p.m. every night. If the new order went through and everything went okay, then it should be on the printed MAR. But if it didn't go through, then that's why you printed out the blank MAR and wrote on it, is because it needs to be there. On top of doing the MAR checks, you're also writing in any special things. So like, is it at the patient's bedside? Does it need to be crushed? Does it need to be split? Does, whatever needs to be done. On top of checking MARs, you're also filling in pages that, charting pages that the day shift is gonna need. You're printing out patient labels if they're running low. Any other paperwork or lab work that needs to go through, you fax it to pharmacy and you put it through, whatever you need to do. From my point of view, I've only done 2 night shifts, but from what I've seen, it's a lot less patient care and a lot more preparing the nurses on the day shift for the next day and making sure the unit's gonna be running smoothly. So there's a lot more paperwork and background work that's being done on the night shift. Around midnight on the night shift, we start doing hourly checks. So we record if each patient was asleep, if they were awake, if they were going to the bathroom, making sure they're breathing regularly, and just making sure they're safe. Most patients on my unit actually go to bed, so that's kind of nice. But of course, at the beginning of your shift, there's all the initial assessments and meds and all that, but after that, it's mostly night checks every hour. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how my buddy shifts kind of went. I'm now out of the buddy shift phase, so the next shift that I do, I am going to be working more independently, taking on patient loads. I'm probably going to take on, just to start, with 3 patients and just build it up from there. On our unit, nurses get 10 patients. 1 nurse to 10 patients, because it's less acute. If it was more acute, I've seen ratios of like 1 nurse to like 5 or 6 patients. Thank God for the rehab workers, the mental health workers, all those people. They are just the greatest. If you come across someone that has been working on the units for a while, even if they're not a nurse, they can always be a good resource. So never underestimate your team and the people on that team that have been there longer than you, because they probably know more than you. So don't be afraid to team up with them. It's my little piece of advice. Anyways, that's all I have today. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to like the video if you liked it. Give it a big old dislike if you didn't like it. And subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content. Thank you for listening. Bye!